BoardGameCast. My name is Jesper Edmark, also known as Mordachai on BoardGameGeek, and this is episode 4 of this show, where I show you full sessions of board games. This episode will be a bit shorter than normal. Also, there will be no cuts of any kind here, and that is for a couple of reasons. First of all, Dominion is a quite quick game to play, especially with the setup that we got this game. You will see it in a bit here. The second thing is that I would like to take this opportunity to just speak a little bit about my plans for the future here. One of the reasons that this episode is of a shorter game is that I simply had to record new material. I had no material left to do my commentating track for, so I used this smaller game as a way to have less editing time, less commentating track recording time, making sure that I could get some good sessions recorded, so I can get you a full video session later instead, a full-length game, so to speak. So that is one reason. Another thing is that I will probably do stuff like this now and again. Although I have 3 or 4 sessions recorded now, I still will need to record from time to time, and I cannot always do that during the weeks, so the times I have to do that on the weekend, I probably will put out a smaller episode like this, so I can get the full day of gaming, as it were. Also, in about a month's time, I will go to a games convention in Sweden called GotCon. It's in Gothenburg, and it's the oldest running convention in the world, actually, I think. If you only count conventions that has had a running every year for as long time as possible. I usually have some work to do there, and this year I will, instead of arranging a tournament of some game, I will bring the camera and have a feature table, so I will have a lot of recording there. So that will be during the Easter, but that weekend I will probably not be able to give you large video, because that goes on from Thursday to Sunday, and I will not be able to do any video editing during that time. So be forewarned about that. The third piece of news I have is that I plan to do a small contest in the future. I have a game of Ricochet robots recorded, and I am thinking about doing a small competition for you, the viewers, with just a challenge, basically, and the one of you who can get the best answer for me will I will ship a small board game to you, and I will pay for the shipping costs and everything. It's just a little fun thing to do, but it's also in the future, probably sometime close to Easter, since that is a smaller episode as well, so that might be a good time to do it. Now, Dominion. Dominion is a nice game. It's one of the first deck building games that was out on the market, and it has a lot of followers, Thunderstone for instance, and this is the base set. I decided to go with the base set here. It was just a quick game after It was recorded after brass session. It will be a 4-player game. I'm on the left again here. We have Jon on the right, and on the top we have Henrik on the top left and Sanne on the top right. And this was also recorded at my home in Kristianstad. The random setup here gave quite cheap cards. We have a cellar, and that is always good for cycling. We also have the workshop, and that is one card that is very good combined with the gardens that we also have. And then we have a card cycling combination of village and feast and festival, and that is a really potent combination. So the first thing you should really think about here is, this will be a short game. And we probably should have noticed that as well, but it has been quite some time since we played this last time. So I was setting up for something else instead. I like to go for the 6-point victory cards. The provinces are just too good, and I really dislike the other kinds of victory point cards. Probably my mistake, but that's just how I usually play the game. What you saw here was us doing the random start player deciding method, odd man out. I can explain that later if you are interested. The bureaucrat and the gardens don't go well together, and I was fearful for the bureaucrat and decided to forego gardens entirely, because there will be more victory point cards in the decks, so the bureaucrat is quite potent here. The library is a good card at times. I'm not only fond of it, especially not if the festival is available for the same cost. And the other cards are really negligible here. I feel they are not as good as the rest. We have Jon starting with a 2-5 combo, so that will give him a quick start of a cellar and then a festival. Henrik is start player here, and he went for a feast village combination. That Sanne did that as well, and you will see me do the same. And that is a good combo when you have a 3-4 split at the starting hands here. But then we start to diverse. I will go more into bureaucrats while the rest go for feast festival quite a lot. And I will actually let you see for yourself here for a few rounds, and I will turn up the music so you can hear some of the background music. And if you haven't read it before, I take my music from incomptech.com. Cammy MacLeod is making different compositions available royalty free for projects like this, and I couldn't do this as well without him. So check out his homepage. It's a really great source for music. That piece by Kevin MacLeod is called Decisions. It's a nice little background track, I feel. So that is one of the tracks I use in the background in my videos. But back to the game. Village is a very, very good card. Although I know that Henrik especially says that the villages from the expansions are outright broken. I feel that the base game Village is very potent, but I don't think it's broken at least, but it's up for discussion, I guess. But in the combination with other cards that cycle themselves, or other cards that have good effects but don't give extractions, you can really build up some great strings of actions. So with a village and then a bureaucrat and then a seller, for instance, and then something else, you can do a really potent action and still have the same amount of cards in your hand to shop with. And especially with a festival, it's a really, really potent combo. You simply get so much value out of that first action if you start with a village that it's hard to ignore village if it's one of the available cards. You don't need it at all time in all decks, but most of the time village is a good addition. In worst case scenario, you can cycle it unless you, for instance, have a card drawer that doesn't give you your action back. So most games where village is available, I at least decide to pick it up. In this game, it looked like there would be a lot of victory point cards in the decks, so Cellar was quite popular, and the festival is always popular. It's just too good to ignore, really. And when you see a combination like that, we have festival, that's a card that's prone to be purchased a lot. We have village, prone to be purchased a lot. We have gardens, and once one player starts to buy them, they usually go away quite fast. And Cellar is so cheap and has so much utility that it's probably bought out pretty fast. Then you really should take that as a sign that it's going to be a fast-paced game, and that was the case here. But I think that no one noticed that until it was too late. I know that I take a couple of actions that is simply bad, and especially towards the end, where I probably should have started taking other point cards instead of trying to build up my deck, because I should have noticed that the game was coming to an end. But we will see that later. What happened here was that Sanne started the race with the Gardens. Now, Gardens is a very interesting card. What makes it interesting is that most of the time you want to have a slim deck, because a slim deck gives you a better chance of having the actions when you want them. You have a better chance to getting the money. This game we had no card that trashed other cards in your deck. Feast trashed itself, but that didn't help you in the way of other cards. Usually I like to trash away my copper if I have the opportunity, but there were no such opportunity in this game. So instead you have the opportunity to build a big pile, big deck, a fat deck, because Gardens really gives you a lot of points if you manage to get those 30-40 card decks. Now this was a fast-paced game, and I decided that I don't want to go for gardens because it's the bureaucrat was one thing, but also since I thought that it was a fast-paced game, although I should have realized it was even faster than I expected, I thought that, well, it should be worth 3 points probably, and I can probably outpace that if I go for the provinces instead, especially if all the other players compete for them. Now, only 2 players really ended up competing for the gardens, and that was Henrik and Sanne, and they ended up with 5 each, I believe, while Jon took the last 2. That is one important thing to note, that while action cards come in piles of 10, the victory point cards come in piles of 12, and that includes gardens, unless you are playing with fewer players, of course. But in a 4-player game there are 12 copies. So that is one important thing not to forget. But we are still building up our decks. I'm going for money rather than victory points, and just aiming for those provinces. But I really should have diversified a bit, I believe. Henrik is just going for what he can buy, gardens when he can, festivals, villages, and a few money cards, but just going with the flow really. Sanne went for those gardens and then realized that she needed more money, so she started buying up silver. Silver is a potent buy, especially early in the game, but it's better if you can cycle out your copper, and there's no good way of cycling out copper with this setup. So that is something that should have been taken into account. I went for gold when I could, and it's just too good to skip. But basically we had a fast-paced game, and no one really took it into account that it would be that fast. Here you see me doing one of my mistakes, I think. 3 of the piles are getting really low and I decide to go for a bureaucrat. That is probably a mistake. Would have been better to switching into victory point cards here, even if I did not have those 8 coin. Those 8 gold are just what you strive for most of the time to get that province. You just saw Henrik take the most expensive round of the game. He had 10 gold, so he purchased 1 province and 1 cellar. And that was with the help of the festival, of course, the extra buy you get from the festival. But there were quite few hands that yielded 8 or more gold. Only 4 provinces were bought in this game, and that ended up showing in the scores at the end. We had a lot less points than we thought we would. We are getting close to the end game here, but I'll treat you to another track from the background music. what you heard that was Rising, also a nice piece of music by Kevin MacLeod. What you saw during Rising was me making my second really big mistake in this game, buying a workshop that I had no reason buying at all. I would have been much better off just buying victory points for those money. You also saw the gardens ending up with an empty stack, as well as festival. Me myself thought that village would be emptied first, but I was wrong in that aspect. Sanna realized that her only chance is to go for the throat and end it, but unfortunately she ended up a little bit short. Henrik and his 5 gardens end up winning with a measly 19 points. He had 5 gardens, 1 province, and the 3 1-point cards, the states that you have. It's a very meager point total for all of us. And of course the reason for this was that we did not really notice that the game was gonna be that short. Also, all of the 3 players that had gardens ended up being just a couple of cards away from getting 3 points per garden. Sanna had 28 cards in her deck. I believe that Henrik had 26 or 27, and Jon had something similar to that. So probably could have fattened up the deck just a little bit somewhere over the course of the game to get those 5 extra points for those gardens. Still, it was a very poor game if you're just speaking points wise, but it was a quick paced, it was a fun game, so we had much fun playing it anyway. So at the end here I realized that I have done some unorthodox things regarding the series in this episode. I have taken away some of the formatting here. I decided not to do any cuts. I decided to give you some segments without me speaking and having the background music on full volume instead. That is not something I intend to do that often, but might happen again during those short episodes. So if it's something that you liked, well, please tell me. As you know, there are possibilities to tell me both on YouTube and on BoardGameGeek. Again, I will link to the thread or the geek list on BoardGameGeek. That is the episode list, where you can find all of my episodes up to date, and it will be updated as soon as I produce new episodes. So far I have been able to produce 1 episode a week, and although have been a lot of work, it's a lot of fun as well. So for the foreseeable future, that is my continued plan, 1 episode a week. Although, as I said before, I will go away for GotCon in a month's time. Also, in a couple of weeks I will be away on a spa. That will be very, very good. So might be a smaller episode then as well, but I'll try to fit in a full episode anyway, because I don't want to have too many small episodes. on the show. But I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope I will see you next time. So until then, goodbye.